Hello graphic novel literature students, and welcome to the video for week 5, day 2. This video is designed for those students who were absent from our live Zoom class. As a reminder, everything you say, do, or type is recorded, so please keep it school appropriate. And as always, there's no saving, downloading, or taking pictures of our class ever. Our agenda for today, is to present your comic from a comic rebirth work, That should take us about 20 minutes. If you're watching this video because you missed class, you kind of missed out on that opportunity to share and look at other people's stuff as a review. We did that before we took the quiz, again, as a good review. You are welcome to maybe ask your classmates if they want to share theirs with you if you wanted to look at it, but it's not necessary. We then moved on to the 10 terms quiz, which takes about 25 minutes to complete. Then I introduced the common task 1, depicting a scene from your life. And then the rest of our time was yours to brainstorm some comic task 1 ideas for that comic. Okay, so again, everybody shared their stuff. You could talk to a classmate, look at your own notes, etc. Ask for a volunteer. And then we took time to take the test. Again, please remember that it's open notes. You're allowed to have your notes open and in front of you while you take the test, okay? It is also timed, You only have 25 minutes. So please make sure that you are doing this when you have 25 minutes, Don't start it, walk away, and then try to come back. All right, so let's talk about common task 1, depicting a scene from your life. The objective. Construct a 16-panel comic depicting an important event in your life. The requirements. It must have 16 panels. It must show considerable originality and inventiveness, Borrow images sparingly. I'll tell you what that means in a minute. Must use at least 3 types of transitions. If you can't remember what the types of transitions are, see Scott McCloud's 3rd chapter, and it goes over all of those transitions for you. Your comic must show and tell. Do not rely too heavily on scripting, or just telling. And just a quick note, it does not have to be shared with the class if you don't want to, I'll be the only one who sees it if that's the way you want to keep it. That way, if somebody wanted to do their comic on something that maybe has sensitive information in it, you don't have to worry about other people in class reading it. I will be the only one who does that. So the rubric for this common task, if you take a look at it, the biggest area of points, it's out of 200 points, okay? But the biggest chunk of points is in the ideas and content area, The comic shows considerable originality and inventiveness. The content and ideas are presented in a unique and interesting way. The story effectively articulates a significant event in your life, clearly shows the effects of that moment, and successfully communicates a meaningful message to your readers, okay? The next one, is the use of comics devices, You should be using a wide array of appropriate and effective comic devices that help communicate the story by not only telling, but also showing what's important in the narrative. It may help to have your course terms in front of you when you're doing this as well. Use of images out of 30 points. Carefully chosen images help the reader understand the action/emotions in the story. The work includes interesting and dynamic illustrations full of rich imagery and detail. Drawings indicate considerable effort and time were put into the work, even if you're not a good artist, which is okay. I do expect you to be drawing some parts of this comic on your own, I'll show you an example of mine in a minute. I drew almost all of it. But you're not being graded on your artwork, You're just being, this part here, the use of images, you're being graded on your ability of the image that you construct to convey the message or to make it clear to the reader what is happening. Sequencing and story structure, The story is well organized. One idea or scene follows another in a logical sequence with a clear transition, and it's easy for the reader to follow the panel flow. And then lastly, mechanics, Your text has been proofread and is polished. The writer makes no spelling, punctuation, or grammar errors. So let's take a quick look at this silly example, right? I drew this comic in a notebook and I kind of took a picture and put it in here to use as my example, right? I called this comic The Phone. La la la, dee da, I'm walking. Man, do I love to walk. Ring. This woman over here thinks, gosh, I'm old. Ring. I learned a very important lesson the other day. Ring. Who is this calling me? Click. Hello? Shut up! Not everything I'm thinking needs to be said aloud. The end. Now let's see what I've got. Do I have 16 panels? No, I do not, right? I have too few panels. So if this was my story, I would need to find a way to expand it so that from the beginning to the end of the story, I'm using 16 panels, okay? Obviously, this was just a very quick example. I would need to think this out more. Is my comic original and inventive? Do I borrow images sparingly? Yes, right? I drew all of my own images with the exception of this keep off the grass sign, right? I just kind of made that within the program using text boxes and imitating what I saw. I also used the computer program to give me voice bubbles. I originally drew them in, but they were hard to read. So I just redid them using computer images and typing into them. Same thing for my narrative blocks, my scripts. Next, has at least 3 types of transitions. My comic doesn't. My comic only has moment-to-moment transitions like this one, right? From this moment to this moment, and action-to-action transitions, right? From the moment he reaches into his pocket to pulling out and putting it to his ear, right? So I would need to make sure that in those additional panels that I draw, I come up with a third type of transition, maybe a non sequitur, maybe an aspect to aspect, etc. Again, if you need to review, go back to chapter 3 of McLeod's text. The next item. Does my comic show and tell, not relying too heavily on scripting? Yes, right? In fact, I only have 2 little parts for scripting, right? And they're very short. I've relied mostly on showing for mine. And then the last and the most important bullet point. Do I depict an important moment in my life? No, right? This old woman kind of yelling at somebody on the phone because they're talking to themselves while they're walking down the street is not an important moment, but I just use this as a quick joke to show you, if I was graded on this comic, if I turned this in, I would get a very poor grade, right? I only got 2 of these 5 things kind of covered. So don't do this, right? Do better than mine. All right. And that was the end of our kind of material for the day. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on one second. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to update this slide. Your action item is to continue brainstorming and planning your comic of your life activity, right? That is going to be due on Friday, March 12th, the end of next week. Next week is hectic because of all of the academic check-in days and sort of half days, etc. So please just keep in mind that this is your core project, right? This is the thing you should be working on next week. If you get lost or if you have questions or just need some help, I'll be available during academic check-ins, right? Typically those are on Wednesdays from 12:55 to 1:15, but I'm also available during student support, which is at the beginning of the school day, right? From 7:45 to 8:45, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in class soon.